Hey everybody, this is Joe Schellerud from Ad Advance. In today's video, we're going to be covering some major shifts that we're seeing in the digital advertising industry as a whole, and also the formation of this new advertising type called retail media. So what we're going to do is cover what these shifts look like, what's driving them, and really how to utilize them as you go. So overall, if we look at US digital ad spending, we've got some projections from eMarketer, who is a really good source for different trends in the digital ad space overall. We're seeing digital ad spend, say like 2023, going from $263 billion up to $394 billion. So a couple notes here: percent of total media ad spending is going from about 75% up to 82%. And then the other note is the year over year change. And this is typically going to be in the low double digits. So between 10 to 11% overall. So a lot of growth in the digital ad spend arena as a whole. But if we look at retail media ad spend, and we'll go into what retail media really is, but if we look at that, we're seeing growth change percentage in the 20s compared to like the low 10s overall for digital advertising. From 2023 growing from about 45 billion to 106 billion in 2027. So we're seeing significant growth in retail media. If we compare these overall, if we look at retail media versus non-retail media, you can definitely see the change and how retail media advertising spend is projected to grow a lot more. And so the key question is, what is retail media? So if we look at some of the key players, it's going to be retail players like Amazon or Walmart, Shopify, Instacart, Target, Kroger, and even like Google search ads kind of fall into this a bit. When we look at retail media, really what we're looking at is any of these retail providers trying to use advertising data to run ads, whether it's on their channel or on third-party sites overall. And so here's another chart by eMarketer, which just goes percent change or percent growth. We can see like Walmart and Instacart are some of the major ones. They are starting a lot lower overall, but even if we look at Amazon, 19% growth. They're the top three. Amazon or the top three advertisers in the digital advertising space behind Google and Meta. And you can see Google and Meta at 3% and 5% growth. So overall, retail media is growing incredibly fast. So what is retail media? If we look at it, probably the easiest spot to start are what we call sponsored ads. So if we look at like Amazon and you do a search in Amazon, so in this example, we're looking at 2024 planner. You can see that there's 4 different ads that pop up that say sponsored next to them. Actually, there's 5 if you include the sponsor brands. And with these ads, what they're doing is you're actually paying for a placement to showcase your products on the search results. In this case, we have Beachmore Books and Antidote and let's see, Page Rage, which is all advertising for 2024 planners. So they're essentially paying on a pay-per-click basis to get their ads shown. And so retail media, one source of it is sponsored ads, where you can advertise your products on these different channels, whether it's Amazon or in this instance, Walmart. So same thing, searching for winter boots for kids. You can see lots of different examples, and the key way to know that it's an ad is to just look at the sponsored area right below it. We've got a couple other examples. I've got 3 kids. They just got some new mountain bikes. They're looking for different bike accessories. You can see the different sponsored designations. So at the top is what we call a sponsored brand ad that showcases 3 of their different products and kind of like a lifestyle image, or you can include your logo. Below that is sponsored products. So there's multiple different ones showcasing different lights. And then finally, once we get to this active life LED bike wheel lights, that's the first organic placement. So the first product that's shown without having to pay for ads. And then if we click on one of those products, there's also different ads that fall within the product detail page. Even if you click on a product itself and you're getting ready to buy, you're actually shown ads for other competitors. And so you can see in this 4 stars and above section, there's the little sponsored designation. And these are other ads of different competitors who are saying, hey, show my ads on my competitors' product detail pages, in hopes that somebody else is not going to buy from them. They'll click on my ad and they'll come and buy from me. And then even at the top too, you can see there's the Tai Nana 2-tire pack LED bike wheel lights right below the bullet points for the product detail page. Or Dawei is another example, and this is more of a display advertisement that shows up below the buy box. So lots of different placements to show your sponsored ads on different product detail pages. And so if you're selling products on these platforms, it's incredibly important to be able to manage your retail advertised spending. In this example, what we looked at is we searched for dog toy, and we just blocked out the different areas of the search results and looked at, are these ads or are these organic placements for each of these lines? And what you can see is at the top, we have sponsored products or sponsored brands top of search, and we have sponsored products top of search. Then we have our first organic line where all the products are organic listings, they're not paid. And then below that, there's sponsored highly rated. Then we have sponsored brand video. You can see off to the left, there's sponsored DSP or sponsored display. And then there's other ads throughout the rest of the search results. When I first started selling on the Amazon platform, most of the placements were organic, but as you can see, a lot have really transitioned to paid placements. And so this has been one of the key drivers why retail media has continually grown over time. But at the same time, there's a lot of other underlying factors which are pushing to increase overall retail media advertising spend. A big one is overall privacy updates. Here we've got an article where Americans in privacy concerned or confused and feeling lack of control over their personal information. Other question, like, is my smartphone listening to me? I get that all the time when people know I'm in the digital ad space. Like, hey, can my phone or can Alexa listen to me? A lot of people are much more aware of how their data is used online, or are wary of companies gathering a lot of data about them. And so this has pushed different companies to make updates. One big example was Apple. When Apple launched iOS 14, what this did is, before this point, different apps on your phone could cross-track your activity across all your different apps. What this allowed you to do is to gain a lot of information about each individual user and then show ads that would be relevant to what they're interested in. With iOS 14, Apple now added this little pop-up that says, allow Facebook to track your activity across other companies' apps and websites. And you could either ask the app not to track, or you could allow. Almost everybody picks ask app not to track. And so this severely limits the amount of information that somebody like Facebook can get, because now they can only track the information when it's specifically in the Facebook app versus being able to track your activity throughout all the apps that you have. And this is one key reason why, like, Facebook, now Meta, put out ads in the Wall Street Journal saying Apple versus the free internet. And they took a huge hit on their advertising platform just because they lost a lot of tracking information, which meant they weren't able to target their ads as well, which meant they lost digital advertising budget. Another big update, so Google is also responding. If you look between Apple and Google, Apple's always been a little bit more on the privacy conscious side, but Google is making other steps to catch up in their own right, whether it's on the Android platform or in their browser. Chrome is the most dominant browser that's out there in terms of usage, and they are currently getting rid of tracking cookies. Tracking cookies are pieces of code that's put within your browser when you visit different sites. Originally, it was developed by Netscape Navigator back in the 90s. It was a way to allow personalization of your overall browsing experience. But with that technology, marketers were able to use that and essentially place different tracking codes as you went around the web. And from that, they were able to track your user activity. They would be funneled to these different third-party data aggregators. They would go out to different platforms like DSPs, which would then be able to show you ads based off of your browsing behavior, see what you're interested in, and then show you these relevant ads. But what Google is doing is they're currently looking at weeding out the cookies. This date got pushed back into 2024. Currently, as we record this, they're currently getting rid of cookies for 1% of users, and they're gonna keep expanding that as we go. Because of this, a lot of third-party data aggregators that are out there in the ad space are no longer getting as much information as they can, and as cookies are fully weeded out, it's going to be much harder for people to track you as you're browsing around the internet. And so what does this mean? It pushes us to this thing called first-party data. The way to look at first-party data is it is information about you that is collected whenever you're logged into a site or an ecosystem. So probably the three biggest ones are going to be like Meta and Google and Amazon. For each of these sites, you log in and you give your consent to be tracked. And in many different cases, you have different controls on what can be tracked. If we look at the quality of the data in terms of digital advertising between these three platforms, we can see some major differences. For digital advertising, the key focus is we're trying to show relevant ads that people will be interested in. And to do that, we need to know what they're interested in. Meta's data is based off of social behavior. So what I type into Facebook or Instagram, maybe I post a lot about running because I love to go running, and they say, okay, Joe's interested in running. Let's show him some running shorts or new shoes or different things like that. But there's a lot of activities that I do on Facebook that aren't necessarily indicative of the purchases that I want to make. If we look at Google, it takes it a little bit step closer to the purchase. Maybe I'm doing a search and I'm looking for top running shoes. These are all much better indicators on what I'm potentially interested in buying. And this also applies to different services. If I'm looking for patio contractor in this area, in the Duluth, Minnesota area, that would be indicative that, hey, I probably want to hire somebody like this. But when we take it one step closer with Amazon, what's really powerful is Amazon actually has our full purchase history. So instead of me just browsing or creating some different posts on social media or doing some searches on Google, Amazon actually knows all the purchases that I've made. And so they have a much better picture on what I'm truly interested in and what I might be really looking to purchase in the future. And so that's where a lot of the value comes in on the retail media side. The data is generated from the retailers, which gives us a much better picture on what people are interested in. So then we can show them other relevant ads for other products that they may be interested in. Some things that people miss when they look at these retailers, whether it's Amazon or Walmart or Target or Instacart, is that they just look at the retail side. But another key profit driver is actually advertising. So for Amazon, this is a chart from Statista, and it breaks down the key revenue drivers that Amazon has. This is net sales in the third quarter of 2023 by segment. And so there's obviously the online stores and third-party seller services. So these are other people selling on Amazon's platform. You have Amazon Web Services, which is $23 billion. But then you have advertising right after that. And so if we look at a percentage of sales or a percentage of revenue, it's still decently small overall. But here's a chart by Benedict Evans, and it breaks down overall operating income or profitability based off of these different sections. And so in 2022, if you took all of Amazon's segments, they drove $502 billion in net sales. In operating income, it's somewhere around like $12 billion. What's really interesting, if you look at Amazon Web Services, and then if you look at ads, the operating income between the two is actually greater than the group operating income for all of Amazon. And so what this means is that estimated profitability from these two areas actually made up some net losses that the retailer Amazon had. Advertising is a huge driver for profitability for the retail industry. And another example is Walmart. So Walmart is another great case. If you look at the retailer as a whole, they're in a very low margin business. They're always trying to give the best price to customers. But when they look at their advertising revenue side, the data that they're sitting on from all the different consumers who had made purchases within their company, they're seeing a huge profit driver, which could contribute to the bottom line for Walmart. If we look at this article, Walmart ad revenue grew 30% to $2.7 billion in 2022. And it's buoying the profit margin. And then here's another snapshot from a Walmart's earning call where the CFO for Walmart was saying, I can't remember a business with the margin structure of advertising business here at Walmart and having 30% growth for the quarter. What they're seeing is that Walmart adds a significant profitability piece from their retail media. And so this is why you have other players like Walmart and Target and Sam's Club and Kroger all looking on how they can utilize their retail data to be used for advertising. So one key piece that people get stuck on is they just think of retail media as the advertising that occurs on, say, Amazon.com or Walmart.com. And some people technically define retail media as just the ads that are on the e-commerce platforms. But I want to broaden that definition out a bit, because what these retailers can do is they can actually utilize the ad data, the audience data, to put ads on other third-party sites. And so what some people miss is that Amazon actually has this extensive third-party network where they can also show ads off of Amazon.com. Here's an example on weather.com. And you can see that, hey, these look like Amazon products. And sometimes, say if you've gone to Amazon.com, you click on a product detail page, but you don't purchase, you may see ads that follow you around the web after trying to get to come back. And these are called retargeting ads. But there's also other examples where you would never know that these ads were actually supplied by Amazon.com. So in this first example, it's actually the Capital One business ad that is an Amazon ad. In this other example, it's actually this personalized senior living advice, this A Place for Mom ad, which is an Amazon ads driven ad. What they're doing here is they're utilizing different audience data that's been collected from Amazon to be able to place this ad and show it to relevant people. Another way that these different services can provide even more information and show ads off of their site is through streaming. In this example, like linear TV viewing sinks below 50% as streaming soars to new heights. In July of 2023, Nielsen broke down that overall cable and broadcast dropped below 50% for overall viewership, where streaming has just continually increased. And some of the power with streaming is that with linear TV, you would just be able to show ads to everyone who watches the program. But linear or streaming TV allows us options where we can target specific individuals with ads. So with linear TV, the key downside is that you just had to show your ads to every single person who's watching that program. So there's not much segmentation that you can do. A major benefit of streaming TV is that you can target specific audiences who are interested in your product and just show ads to them. One of the key things that people don't realize too for a company like Amazon is that they're not just a retail company. They are a content producing company too. And so Amazon actually owns Freevee, they own IMDb. Fire TV is one of the most commonly used streaming services out there that allows ads to be placed. Wondery is a podcasting platform. They even own Twitch, which is a video game streaming service. And they also just bought rights to Thursday Night Football, which unlocks a whole new potential to show your ads overall. What all these things mean is that we can now show video ads just to people who are interested in our products. And the other major benefit is then we can also have better tracking what happens after that. There are these things called interactive video ads now on Amazon, which allows us to, we can either press OK to shop, or now we can take a QR code, we can take a snapshot. And in some instances, if you're on, say, like a Fire TV, you can see an ad, you can add to cart right on the screen, and then you can complete the checkout process with your phone. And so what this all does is it allows us to go from just more of an upper funnel type branding ad that's on TV to a more transactional, sales-driven type process where we can show our ads to people who are already interested in our products and then track that all the way back to the purchase. So this unlocks a whole new potential for advertisers in using these streaming services to advertise their products, where you don't have to have the budget to show to everybody who's watching a specific program. You can just limit it down to a certain audience who's going to be interested in your products. And so this is where we've been able to use Amazon's DSP to launch these ads. But now Amazon also launched this new ad type called sponsored video, which unlocks advertising for a whole new host of brands, where you don't have to have a huge budget and you can show video ads to those folks who are going to be interested in your product to make sure that you're getting the biggest benefit from your advertising. Other examples of retail media, Walmart is adding a lot more displays in stores. So there's going to be a huge potential of different ways that we can showcase our products in Walmart. One example I love to use is just picture going down the toy aisle with your kiddos. I've got 3 kids. And say you see this streaming ad of kids using Nerf guns and playing around with that right above where all the Nerf guns are on the shelf. I guarantee the probability of my kids going over there and asking me to buy a new Nerf gun for them goes up significantly. And there's other areas even when you're checking out in the cart where you can advertise for different products. And so in store, in brick and mortar, the ad possibilities are totally going to be unlocked too as we go. Key takeaways are privacy updates are pushing the ad industry into first-party data from all this original third-party tracking, which was from all these sites where you didn't necessarily give consent to be tracked. It's going to drive a lot of advertising dollars into those ecosystems where you're already logged in. Examples are Meta and Google and Amazon, where there's many areas where you're already logged in and supplying that data. The first-party data updates are going to push a lot of people to retail media, just because the advertising insights and the audience insights you get from your previous purchase history are so strong. There's no better indication on what I'm potentially going to buy in the future than what I already bought previously. This really it's going to push a consolidation into these major tech ecosystems. And so, like for instance, with Amazon, they now have the retail side where they can get all this audience data, but then they have the content side where they can show all these new ads. And this has been one key driver why Amazon has really pushed to get into live sporting events like Thursday Night Football. The key benefits to retailers is that you can get much more targeted with these ads, and then you can also track based off of the performance of those ads itself. Unlike linear TV, where it's really tough to track how many people did my ad truly drive to become my customer, it's going to be much easier online throughout these different sources. It's not just the huge brands out there that are able to use these different ad platforms, but it can be a lot smaller brands and just using it in a much more targeted capability. So if you're selling on retail channels, like sponsored ads are already huge for you and probably in your playbook. But as we continue to go further up funnel to try to drive more people to your products and your brands, utilizing some of these other sources within retail media can be really big. If there's brands that are selling direct, so if you're not selling on, say, Amazon or Walmart, you can still tap into these first-party data insights and actually drive traffic to your direct-to-consumer website. So a lot of people don't realize that, but it's extremely powerful to do if done right. And then finally, for services businesses, even if you don't sell a physical product, you can really tap into these different advertising sources. And so as an example, say I'm buying protein powder and supplements and different things like that. That may indicate that I'm looking for different workout services. And so I could advertise the local gym to that person who seems to be really big into their health. There's some great ways where you can tie purchase history into other activities that they may be interested in, even if they're not physical products. And we've seen a lot of success doing that too. So overall, we're seeing some major shifts in the digital advertising landscape. Privacy updates, pushing third-party data to first-party sources is going to keep going. And that's why we're so invested in expanding our tools and doing our research into the retail media space. If you like this video, feel free to give a thumbs up. We'd love that. Subscribe to the channel, and then you can see other updates we have as we go. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next one.